Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at the Dell XPS 9310. I've had this laptop for the past few months, and huge shout out to Dell for actually sending it out for review, but we're going to go ahead and do my long-term review of this device, which I have had a lot of fun using it, and it's not perfect. The build quality is very good, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but the performance is really what I want to talk about and just dive right into this machine. So they did send me out the top spec model with the i7 processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, this 4K 13-inch 16 by 10 touchscreen OLED display, and then this is also in the white finish. So you have the silver soft touch aluminum on the top and bottom of the device, and then you also have this white carbon fiber insert here, which is also pretty soft touch, and a nice big glass trackpad. Because this device has this compact and beautiful OLED display, that's the first thing that I want to talk about real quick. This is perfect for doing any color sensitive work. So if you're doing some light video editing, when I say light, I mean 4K off of an iPhone or 1080p from a real camera, because if you throw real codecs at this thing, it's not really going to handle it with flying colors, especially because of these Geekbench scores that I'll have up on the screen right now for you guys to see. And the scores in Geekbench are pretty decent, but how that relates to the real world performance is just okay. But back to this display, you do have display HDR 400, a little bit over 4K resolution because it is a 16 by 10 ratio display, so it is a little bit taller than your standard 16 by 9 ratio display in a laptop. And I do like that because it also uses a little bit more of that bezel that you will always have on laptops, and it just looks a lot better, more clean when it's an all screen ratio. And one of the best parts about this display is the 90% DCI-P3 color accuracy is very good if you want to do any color sensitive work. So if you're doing photo editing, some video editing, this is going to be a great display to work with while you're on the go. And in terms of just general viewing experience, I really do love using this display. I mean, watching YouTube videos, HDR content on Netflix or Disney Plus, it doesn't really matter where the source of content comes from. As long as you've got good resolution in your content, this display really brings out some of the best in that content. So you can see darker areas with really fine control with those individual pixels in the OLED display, and you can also view extremely bright areas and have super dark contrasting areas on the screen at the same time without having that IPS bleed that we all know. That's just the benefit of having an OLED panel, and the addition to the fact that this OLED display is actually a touchscreen, which on my XPS 9570 from I want to say 2019 does not have an OLED touchscreen. It is kind of nice to see. I don't really use it because I'm not really a big fan of touchscreen laptops. And then on the inside of the laptop, you have this white carbon fiber soft touch material as well, and this massive glass trackpad that is also in white that matches with the white keyboard with backlighting as well. On the left side of the device, you have a USB Type-C port as well as a micro SD card reader. And then on the right side of the device, you have a headphone jack as well as another USB Type-C port. Both of these USB ports are Thunderbolt 4, so you will get full speed as far as your transfer speeds if you want to use the external display as well as charging. So you do have equal functionality for either port. On the bottom of the XPS 13, you have all of your venting, you have your speaker grills on both the left and right sides of the device, and they are down firing, and they do sound pretty good as well. Here's a quick sound test. The keyboard on the XPS 15 is membrane, but it does feel extremely nice to type on. Honestly, this is one of the top-end laptop keyboards that you can get. I don't really think that there is a better laptop keyboard that I've tried in the past from ASUS or Acer or Lenovo or anyone that even Razer, the Razer blade that I tried. They had a very small control on the Razer blade that I tried last year, and that is a huge reason why I don't think I could switch to a Razer blade laptop. But this Dell XPS keyboard, even on my XPS 15 from 2019, these keyboards are absolutely amazing. They're quiet, they feel good, they're smooth membrane switches, which sounds like blasphemy to say since I love typing on custom keyboards. And having this little built-in fingerprint reader up at the top right, it also doubles as the power button, is just really nice to have. Here is just a quick test of the 720p webcam as well as the built-in speakers of the XPS 13. As you can see, it's pretty decent. It's not necessarily the best camera performance you're ever going to get, but this is good enough for a quick video call and things like that. But let me know what you guys think of the audio quality in the comment section below. Is this something that you think is acceptable, or would you be buying an external mic? The battery life on the XPS 13 is pretty good as well. I do feel pretty confident giving you guys a rating of about 8 to 10 hours of pretty mixed usage across multiple days. Pretty much for the most part, I just type notes on a laptop of this size. I watch some content on YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus. It doesn't really matter, whatever it is. Even Twitch. It handles live streaming pretty good because the MacBook Air that I took out last year with Intel processor was absolutely horrible. You couldn't even watch a live stream. It was that bad. But even tossing in a little bit of photo editing in Photoshop and maybe a little bit more intense color editing in Lightroom, you are still able to squeeze out some pretty decent performance. You'll probably manage somewhere between 7 to 8 hours if you're living on battery power and really pushing the device. And the extent that I say you should push it is probably using Lightroom and really nothing more past that. If you're using Premiere and you're editing more than 1080p footage that is not from a phone, or you're working with camera codecs, this is probably not the machine that's for you, and you should probably upgrade to the XPS 15 or 17, because having those better cooled and higher core count Intel processors is really going to be the way to go. But what I really want to see in the next version of the XPS 13 and even the 15 and 17, I would love to see some AMD processors, because it seems like AMD in the mobile space does have the higher core counts in the smaller size and form factor laptops really figured out, because then you can have a little bit closer to mid-range to higher end performance out of a laptop without compromising and having something like a 4-core 8-thread laptop like this one that does not give you that power performance that you may be looking for the $2,000 price range that this laptop is in. If I was to order an XPS 13 for myself, I would go for the 1080p non-touch option personally, because I don't like touchscreens. But if you want the touch, it's only $100 more. I would pass on the 4K screen, even though it is beautiful at 13 inches. I can definitely tell that it does hurt your battery life because it's pushing so many more pixels, and to be honest, the display is not that big, so you're not really going to notice a massive difference in the pixel count, other than if you're pixel peeping and looking really close at the display. But the trade-off for the extra resolution and the battery life, I'm not entirely sure is worth it. Even though the OLED is supposed to be more power efficient, especially if you're using a lot of dark backgrounds and things like that, the battery life is probably comparable, but it's also hundreds of dollars more expensive. And then I would also go for the i5 processor instead of the i7, because I've learned that this laptop and this form factor, I'm not gonna have super high performance out of the latest generation of Intel Core processors, at least not the power efficient versions. I'm definitely going to need to go up to something like an XPS 15 or 17 if I want to do some heavy video editing workloads and also do a ton of multitasking. But if you're just doing some light browsing and things like that, and also doing some note taking and things that don't take a ton of horsepower to do on your laptop, then this is actually a really compelling device to check out. I would just go for the more cost efficient route and spend about $1,500 on an XPS 13 instead of $2,000. And if you are looking at spending around that $2,000 price range, I would heavily recommend going with the 6-core version of the XPS 15. That's going to be around the same price range, but you're going to get a little bit more performance because you're going to be moving up in wattage from those Intel processors, and you can do a little bit more heavy lifting than you can with the XPS 13. I do think it's a great device, but I also think it's a little bit expensive. If you go for the top end model, definitely go for that mid-tier model. Dell also sent over this premium rechargeable USB Type-C mouse, which is pretty nice because you can use the same cable that you have with your laptop to charge your mouse in case it ever dies, but it promises a 6-month battery life, which is pretty insane. But up top, you have a button where you can switch between 3 different Bluetooth devices. You have nicely protruding side buttons that are pretty small, but they are easy to hit, and I never find myself mishitting them unless I just have a weird grip on the mouse, because the size of mice that I typically use are a lot bigger than this one. But if you're looking for something compact to go with you, this could be a good option. Very smooth scroll wheel. And then inside the mouse, there's also a dongle if you want to go ahead and plug this into whatever device that you have. So you can have this USB plugged into one device and then have Bluetooth pairing for the other 2 devices. Usually I just use this connected to the XPS 13 with Bluetooth, and I didn't want to carry around the dongle all the time, so I never really used this and pulled this out. But you can if you want to, and you can have up to 3 devices selected. Again, this one is kind of small for me, so I would like to see a bigger version in the future. The glide is pretty smooth with the mouse skate. It's not the smoothest I've ever felt, but it's usable. And then the touch material on the sides is all soft and it is very comfortable. And then you have plastic up top, which is a little bit of a satin finish, but it's pretty nice to use. I have no major complaints other than the size. I do wish that it was bigger. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel as well. What do you guys think of the XPS 13? Do you think it's a good option for yourself? And if you do or don't, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. But I want to thank you guys. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.